And a good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live this morning on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Don't forget that you can take the show with you 24/7 on demand by checking out the Nick Craig Show in your favorite podcast app. You can also listen online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our show this morning is brought to you by the Law Group. You can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com or give them a call at 910-251-6088. More from them coming up a little bit later on in the program this morning. Well, it has been a wild 24 hours since we were last together here on the program. Many different situations unfolding throughout the Middle East throughout the day yesterday. Of course, the discussion in the afternoon hours, the idea that the Iranian government had officially attacked the United States, launching strikes at a U.S. airbase in Qatar yesterday afternoon. That happened around lunchtime here on the East Coast, only to find out in the hours following that this was nothing more than a symbolic strike by the Iranian regime as they told their people that they had officially destroyed a U.S. airbase in Qatar. They only launched 6 missiles. Those missiles immediately shot down by, I don't know that it's even been confirmed whether it was shot down by U.S. forces or if it was shot down by the Qatari military. Not exactly sure who ended up shooting those down, but it was nothing more than a symbolic attack. And with that, of course, the discussion then turned into, well, what do we do from here? President Donald Trump then hours after that announcing an official ceasefire deal between the two countries, between Israel and Iran, with the president posting this on his Truth Social platform yesterday afternoon. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. This coming out yesterday afternoon from the president, and unfortunately this morning there is some sketchy news coming in from the Middle East as some of the reports coming in this morning indicates that Iran has fired missiles during this ceasefire period. The news is a little bit sketchy, I will admit, coming out of those areas. Reports are that one missile was fired, which doesn't seem to indicate that would be any long-term significant strike. And there's a lot of sketchy information this morning. And you know, there's a lot of information coming out of the Iranian government, which is not necessarily accurate. This, comes back to the difference between a free country and one that is ruled by an authoritarian leader like the Ayatollah, like the supreme leader in Iran. I mentioned this just kind of in passing a few minutes ago. But so yesterday afternoon, right, the Iranian military launches 6 missiles at a United States airbase in Qatar, and they tell their people, this is the Iranian government, tells their people that they have completely destroyed the United States facility. That's what they tell their people. Not only did that not happen, it's not even close to reality. The 6 missiles, 6, that's all they shot, 6, because Israel for the last week and a half has been completely annihilating the Iranians' ability to launch any sort of short term or any sort of short distance surface to air missiles. 6 missiles immediately intercepted. Through back channels, the Iranian government and the Iranian military had warned Qatar and the United States that they were going to do this, indicating it was very much a symbolic strike for the Ayatollah to save face within his own country. And then they just lie to the Iranian people. That it's hard to put yourself in a situation where you have got at least for me it is, to put yourself in a situation where you have a government that is so dishonest isn't even the right word, right? Our government is dishonest here in America. There's a lot of individuals within the government that are frequently lying to the American people. And some of it is lying. Some of it is purposefully withholding information to spin a better narrative. But what you've got in places like Iran and places like Russia, with the vast majority of the media being state controlled, especially as you look at the situation in Iran, they do not have access to the open and free internet. That is incredibly locked down by the Iranian government. It's why you're not seeing, live feeds. You're not seeing reporters standing on the ground in Iran. Not only is it too dangerous to be there, there's no internet. I mean, there's no way to get the information out, because the only way that the Ayatollah can stay in power, the only way that the regime that has done nothing but try and oppress the Iranian people stays in power, is if they control the narrative. That's the only way that happens. If there was free flow of information, if there was an ability for the vast majority of the Iranian citizens to know what exactly was going on, they would overthrow their government. It's a similar situation to what you see in places like North Korea. It's all state-run media. The access to the internet is not worldwide. It is incredibly selective and shut down and limited to certain websites and certain platforms that the government has, in most cases, almost exclusive control over. It's a very foreign concept, no pun intended, to what we deal with here in the United States. I mean, throughout the day, yesterday afternoon, like many of you, I was getting my news from places like X. You're looking at social media commentary from places on X and Facebook, and keeping up to date with what was unfolding by the minute in the Middle East, right? We have that luxury. We have that access to information that does not exist in many of these places. So I say all of that, and I bring you that just to indicate what the information is that you're hearing publicly. Right after this ceasefire deal was announced last night, CNN reported that Iranian officials do not confirm that they have agreed to a ceasefire. What they say publicly and what they are back channeling predominantly through third parties and intermediaries. The Iranian government and the U.S. government doesn't really speak, but through third parties, through back channels, through proxies, what they say publicly and what they say privately oftentimes is completely different. And so when you look at what's going on this morning, as we are, here in the 7 o'clock hour here on the East Coast, the questions over what exactly has gone on with the potential of some Iranian strikes on Israel, it's not immediately clear as to what's going on. Iran says that Iran says they didn't do it. It's not clear exactly what is going on. Now, what is clear is that Israel says that they will respond. Now, again, I don't know if they are going to respond to this one alleged missile strike. Again, the information is rather sketchy, and I would argue probably incomplete as we stand here this morning. But actually, President Donald Trump, looks like this is just popping in. The president just posting on his Truth Social platform, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it's a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. So the president literally posted minutes ago to Truth Social is very much calling on Israel to get their planes, to get their fighters, to get their resources out of Iranian airspace and back into Israel. And I'm glad he's doing this. I mean, Iran at this point, they've got nothing left. It is a country that their attempt to retaliate to the United States annihilating their nuclear program, which is what happened over the weekend, was to launch 6 missiles and telegraph hours beforehand that they were going to do that at a United States air base. This is the deal that Israel wants. Israel needs to back off. Regardless of whether a single missile was fired or not by Iran, whether that's true or not, who knows? Mossad could easily be making that up to try and continue this war, which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. The president putting this pressure on Israel this morning, again, just posting, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it's a major violation. Smart move by President Trump. It's time to hold Israel's feet to the fire as well. They are a complicit party in this, just like the Iranians are. So the president coming out with that this morning. The president, let's see, it looks like he spoke just minutes ago. He's headed to a NATO summit. Let's see if we can get this pulled up. This is the president. It looks like he's outside of a plane. I'm not sure if the audio is going to be any good. You and I are watching this live for the first time.
The sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
So the president's saying that he believes that both countries violated the ceasefire, not necessarily sure if it was done intentionally, saying that he is going to get on the phone with Israel. He absolutely should do so. Israel, they've got a situation here where a ceasefire deal is in front of them. They have already obliterated the Iranians' ability to launch missiles and many of their military assets over the last 11 days or so. So the president speaking pretty strongly on that this morning, telling the Israeli people or the Israeli government rather to kind of back off. Here's the president again. This is happening right now as he is headed his way to a NATO summit later on today.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
Props to the president for calling out Israel for some of the nonsense that they pull on this. He's absolutely right. After this ceasefire deal was announced yesterday, the Israeli government continued to pound the Iranians in that 6-hour period. They're like, oh, yeah, we're continuing our operations. You know, I hear this all the time. Our greatest ally, our strongest ally in the Middle East. Yeah, I hear it. I'm fully aware of it. It has been beaten into the brains of every single American citizen that follows politics. The president is absolutely right to call Israel out on this. If one rocket was fired, an Iranian rocket was fired, and Israel responds with an all-out air assault on the Iranian on Iran, that is incredibly stupid and short-sighted. And it might prove to the fact that Israel's really not interested in a ceasefire deal, which very well could be the case. So we're going to watch this as it continues to unfold this morning. Trump very frustrated with Israel. He says that both things. Here is I don't know if there's an audio clip of this, but this is a direct quote from the president. The president said bluntly, quote, "They don't know what the fuck they are doing. I'm not happy with Israel and I'm not happy with Iran." That is a direct quote from the president of the United States. I'm not seeing any Here's apparently the clip of President Trump saying this moments ago, boarding Marine One, making his way to probably Joint Base Andrews to jump on a Air Force One to fly out to the NATO summit. Here's the president just moments ago.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Wow.
Countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
So the president, it's not often that you hear the president of the United States throw around the F word. That doesn't happen. He obviously put a lot on the line to negotiate this ceasefire deal. He's frustrated with both sides. The Iranians are just a lost cause, but the Israeli government knows what's going on. Again, our greatest ally in the Middle East, as we're told, we fund them at the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars a year in all of the support that we give the Israeli government and the Israeli people and the Israeli military and Mossad and all of the assets that we provide to them, all of the intelligence we share with them, of which is not, for the vast majority of it, is not reciprocal. They share far fewer intelligence with the United States than we do with them. And so the president, being rightfully so very pissed about what's going on right now, makes complete and total sense, as he has tried to negotiate this deal and is trying to get both sides to relax on all of this. You look at who is the one that is more, not necessarily responsible, but who's the one that sets the tone in that region, and it's Israel. Iran is a government that is floundering. The Iranian people are constantly misled by their government. They have no idea actually what's going on in the rest of the world because of their oppressive regime that they live under. Israel needs to set the tone, and Israel needs to set the standard here. If they want to continue to act like a bunch of clowns, to hell with them. Let's pull all of our United States aid from Israel and let them do whatever the hell they want in the Middle East. And I mean that. You've got a ceasefire deal here brokered by the president of the United States to stop missiles flying between the two countries. And Israel apparently, as the president is claiming and is now being reported by Fox News, that the Israeli, the IDF is coordinating for strategic more strikes this morning on infrastructure in Tehran. It's completely beyond the pale, and it shows a country that is probably not actually interested in any sort of peace or ceasefire deal. So President Donald Trump is livid with what is going on this morning, dropping the F word to reporters, saying he's not happy. They don't know what the F is going on. Here is a longer clip. This apparently aired on Fox. This is if some of this is probably going to be repetitive, but again, this is live news, ladies and gentlemen. One of the fun parts of being able to do a live podcast, a live radio show, is to bring this stuff to you live. Here is the 3 minutes of the president this morning on this situation. Probably heard some of the things that you've already heard, but let's take a listen.
Do you get to speak with the Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last night?
I speak to everybody.
You urge both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it.
Oh, my God.
I have no choice. I got to watch this garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
That was, I'm glad I was able to find that full clip from Fox. That 3 minutes really kind of is a great synopsis of what's going on. You've got the president teeing off on mainstream media for, of course, claiming that the strikes weren't actually effective in destroying some of the Iranian nuclear facilities, calling out Israel for continuing to bombard Tehran and some of the Iranian facilities. The president's not going to put up with this stuff, and he needs to, in my opinion, put his foot up Benjamin Netanyahu's ass and get this squared away. If Israel truly wants peace, which is what we hear, we've been trying to have peace for 70 years or whatever nonsense you always hear from them. If that's the case, then Israel needs to back off. And if not, then it is time to cut the United States aid to Israel and let them handle themselves and handle their own problems in the Middle East. Plain and simple. That's it. Trump brokered the ceasefire. Trump brokered the deal. If Israel doesn't want to get on board, if Israel doesn't want to play ball, then to hell with them. Let them fight it themselves. And let's not make the United States part of it anymore. Let's not funnel hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars worth of taxpayer funds over to Israel if that's the case. Let them deal with it themselves. They're a country. They've got an economy. They can handle it themselves. That's the kind of verbiage that I hope President Trump relays to Benjamin Netanyahu, hopefully on the phone right now. He is livid with what is going on. J.D. Vance just retweeting the president's post about not dropping the bombs, calling out Israel. And according to Israeli media 50 seconds ago, Trump is on the phone with Netanyahu right now. And again, I hope he is absolutely putting his foot up Benjamin Netanyahu's ass and getting him in line. If he truly wants peace and truly wants a ceasefire, then it is time for them to come to the table and actually make that happen. So a lot of breaking news this morning on the Nick Craig Show. Some profane language. Apologies on all of that. The president obviously not happy with the situation that is unfolding. We will keep an eye on those details. But again, back to the ceasefire. This is a pretty lengthy clip. J.D. Vance was on Fox News last night on Brett Baer's show, Special Report, which I think airs at 6 o'clock, as this ceasefire deal was announced publicly. And this was a really good exchange. It's a long clip. It's about 15 minutes. I'm not going to play all of it, but I want to play some portions of J.D. Vance on with Brett Baer last night, because they have a kind of an all-inclusive conversation on everything that has gone on, everything that has led to this point. And J.D. Vance, talks a little bit about the negotiating situation and how all of this is unfolded. Here is J.D. Vance with Brett Baer, the vice president, with Brett Baer yesterday evening.
Fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Complete and total ceasefire is what he typed.
Yep.
What does that mean? How did it come about? What's the development
Yeah.
here?
Well, we were actually working on that just as I left the White House to come over here. So that's good news that the president was able to get that across the finish line. I think what it means, Brett, is quite simple. First of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we weren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now, Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because we destroyed it. So that's a very, very big thing. Now, what that means, I think, is we have to talk to Iran and, of course, to Israel about what the future holds. Because while we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, our hope and our expectation is that they're not going to try to rebuild that program. And I think that's what the president is really trying to figure out here, is to build a long-term settlement here to where we can have peace in the region, where our regional allies and, of course, the American people, most importantly, can be secured, but where we can ensure that the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
I want to get to the obliterated part in just a minute, but I just want to read this fully so I get the context here. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point, the ceasefire for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the world. He seems confident that this is all coming together.
That's right.
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And it's, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
You know, this is an interesting point that J.D. Vance is bringing up, and it's an accurate summation of what's going on. The Iranians and their, I guess you'll call it, avenues left are incredibly limited. Their proxy networks have been essentially obliterated throughout parts of the Middle East, whether you're looking at portions of Syria or Libya, where they've got the Houthis and other various rebel groups that they fund almost exclusively. Those entities have been essentially put on they've been almost completely annihilated. Their ability to strike, their ability to retaliate on behalf of the Iranian government, on behalf of the Ayatollah, has been neutered significantly over the last couple of years or so. So those proxies that Iran once had are non-existent. Israel has completely obliterated the ability for the Iranian Defense Force to continue to launch strategic missiles. They have gone after the missiles themselves. They've gone after the sites. They've gone after the storage facilities. Reports are that over 2/3 of the Iranians' missile capabilities had been blown out over the last 12 days or so. So there's not a whole hell of a lot left there. The United States Saturday night drops these MOPs that tunnel themselves into the ground to destroy some of Iran's ability to continue to spin centrifuges, their ability to continue to purify uranium, or rich uranium, to the ability, to the percentage where it could be used in some sort of nuclear warhead or some sort of nuclear bomb. Their avenues are non-existent. And it's why they obviously have come to the table for a ceasefire. And what you just heard there from J.D. Vance, that this 12-day war has offered potentially the opportunity for a hard reset in the Middle East, seems to be pretty accurate. You are now looking at a country and a leader, in the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, that is essentially hanging on with his last grip for power, right? Because there's no military left. There's no warfighting capabilities left. If, in fact, the United States, which all accounts, minus fake news CNN and MSNBC, all accounts the United States struck the Iranian nuclear program incredibly hard, they're not going to build that back up, starting tomorrow. What avenues and what options are left? There's not much more for them, and it makes sense why they have now finally agreed to a ceasefire. Didn't have to be this way. I mean, they had 60 days to negotiate with the Trump administration on stopping and getting rid of their nuclear program. They had 60 days to do that. They chose not to. I guess they thought they were going to put up one last fight, maybe thought that they could secure some sort of victory. It didn't work out, and I guess whether it's a smart move or not, they have finally decided that peace is this, at least potentially, the solution going forward. This is a very interesting and I think a very insightful interview with J.D. Vance, kind of looking at the foreign policy of the United States and looking how this administration is going to handle this going forward. We'll get into some more of that coming up here in just a few minutes. But before that, I do want to tell you about the Law Group here in Wilmington and thank them for their continued support of the Nick Craig Show. When legal challenges arise, you can put your trust in the Law Group. For over 20 years, their experienced attorneys have provided high-quality, affordable legal services across Eastern North Carolina. Whether you're facing a divorce, navigating a real estate transaction, maybe estate planning, or you're in a position where you need a strong criminal defense, the Law Group has your back. Their dedicated team ensures your questions are answered and issues are resolved promptly. They're located in downtown Wilmington and just a phone call away at 910-251-6088, or you can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Give them a call, 910-251-6088, or visit their website, lawgroupnc.com. You can read bios and descriptions about all of their attorneys, look at their practice areas, and they've got a really great blog over at their website, lawgroupnc.com. that discusses a variety of legal challenges and matters that could be unfolding. All of that available at lawgroupnc.com. The Law Group, experience and dedication you can rely on. We appreciate their continued support of the Nick Craig Show. We will continue the discussion. A lot of breaking news this morning between Israel and Iran. The ceasefire deal maybe kind of hanging in the wings this morning. President Trump dropping the F-bomb just moments ago, talking about the situation unfolding in the Middle East. We'll continue with all of that as our coverage continues, streaming live on YouTube, Rumble, and X, and 24/7, wherever you get your podcasts. And welcome back to the Nick Craig Show, continuing our live coverage this morning on YouTube, Rumble, and X of the ongoing ceasefire talks in the Middle East. If you are just joining us moments ago, President Donald Trump making his way to Marine One, departing the White House, making his way over to a NATO summit that is scheduled to take place later today. Discussions unfolding over the last hour or two, indicating that one rogue missile was fired from the Iranian side towards Israel. Israel decided that they were going to go in response with a full-throated attack. President Donald Trump dropping the F-bomb on his way to Marine One, talking about how he is pissed off at both sides as this continues to unfold. The president just posting this on his Truth Social platform. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will be turned around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. However, as the president posted that on his Truth Social platform, there are reports coming in from social media this morning about 2 explosions being reported in northern Tehran. So the information again here is incredibly fluid as we continue to watch this unfold this morning. The president is not happy, saying that both sides are ridiculous. Both sides are acting in a ridiculous manner, and saying that that you can tell essentially how fed up the president is with this situation. I saw during the break, I saw a post on social media that said, the Middle East is the reason that presidents age so much when they are in the Oval Office, right? You've seen the pictures of like Barack Obama when he first came in, young, spry. After 8 years, he looks significantly older, and one of the major reasons is because of ongoing conflicts in places like the Middle East. A little lighthearted comment this morning as we watch this unfold. So that is taking place. Netanyahu apparently telling President Trump that he could not call off the attacks, which is a crock of shit. Let's be perfectly clear and honest. If Bibi Netanyahu, if the Israeli prime minister truly wanted this ceasefire to stay in place, he could have called off the attacks. He chose, apparently, if that image that we just showed you is accurate, he chose not to. And if that's the case, Donald Trump needs to absolutely throw down the hammer on Israel. No question about it. I don't care if they're our strongest ally in the Middle East. I don't care if they're our best friends in the Middle East. I literally do not care at all. It would be time for the president to throw down the hammer. Israel is now confirming just moments ago that it attacked a target in Iran and that its jets are on its way back to Israel. So we'll see what the president's reaction to that is. I don't know that I've ever seen the president this pissed off about something. This is a guy who, for days now, weeks now, has been trying to advocate for peace. You can say whatever you want about President Donald Trump. You can claim that he's a hothead, he's a loose cannon, he's a this, he's a that. Throughout this entire process over the last 12 days or so, he has consistently tried to open the avenue, has consistently tried to negotiate peace. More than anybody else, more than the Iranians, and sure as hell a lot more than the Israelis. No argument about that at all. He has been the constant factor on discussing peace. And so he, like you and I this morning, are watching this situation continue to unfold after he just negotiated a peace deal no more than 12 hours, a little more than 12 or so hours ago. And now he's watching both sides act like a bunch of clowns, in particularly the Israelis. He is livid. He is hot. He is pissed about what is going on. And I hope he has absolutely telegraphed that to Benjamin Netanyahu and told him to get in line. So we are, again, watching details. The president will once again probably speak to the media once he lands at Joint Base Andrews and makes his way to Air Force One to head over to the NATO summit. He will be in front of cameras again. It's not clear whether he will speak to the media when he does get ready to board Air Force One. I would imagine that he probably will. Not sure that that's going to happen while we're still on the air, but it will be a very interesting situation to keep an eye on. So let's take a couple of steps back. Again, this exclusive interview with J.D. Vance last night on the Fox News channel, very eye-opening as J.D. discusses the conflict that continues to unfold in the Middle East. Here's more from this last night.
Would you be surprised if Iran is sending out signals that it doesn't have a specific ceasefire plan? How would the communication have been with the Iranians to get this level of confidence to put out that detailed statement?
Well, one of the things I've learned, Brett, about the Iranians in the past, 4 or 5 months that I've been in this job is what they say publicly and privately can sometimes be very different. I think what the Iranians have shown very clearly is they don't want this war to go on for much longer. Their air defenses have been totally destroyed. Their conventional missile program has been largely destroyed. And of course, their nuclear program has been obliterated, as I said before. So I think the Iranians are at a place where they don't want to keep on fighting. You saw the president, and I don't have the truth in front of me, but he talked about the next 6 hours finalizing the attacks. I mean, I think what he's talking about is right now, for the American people watching, it's dark over there. That's typically when the Israelis and the Iranians have been shooting at each other. I think there's some recognition that that might continue for another few hours, and tomorrow really is a new day. The end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program, and I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
So you said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran enrich the uranium to a weapons-grade level, and can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the 2 mission objectives are completely successful. We know that they cannot build a nuclear weapon. Now, you asked about the highly enriched uranium.
Yeah, like 900 pounds of it.
But what we know, Brett, is that uranium is something that exists in very large supply. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. I think this is an important point, Brett, because so many of the folks who have focused on the highly enriched uranium,
60%.
The main focus, Brett, has been to destroy their enrichment capacity, because we don't want that 60% uranium to become 90% uranium. That's the real concern, and that's what was so successful about our mission.
So after all this, if the Iranian government survives as is, what's to stop it from rebuilding over time if they in fact moved the 60% highly enriched uranium?
It's a great question.
No, that's the concern.
From Brett Baer.
No, the big concern, Brett, and this is again what we destroyed, is their ability to enrich uranium. If they have 60% enriched uranium, but they don't have the ability to enrich it to 90%, and further, they don't have the ability to convert that to a nuclear weapon, that is mission success. That is the obliteration of their nuclear program, which is why the president, I think, rightly is using that term. But here's the question. If Iran is desperate to build a nuclear weapon in the future, then they're going to have to deal with a very, very powerful American military again. Our hope is that the lesson that the Iranians have learned here is, look, we can fly a bunker buster bomb from Missouri to Iran completely undetected without landing once on the ground, and we can destroy whatever nuclear capacity you build up. I think that lesson is what's going to teach them not to rebuild their nuclear capacity.
Yesterday, were you speaking on the president's behalf when you said he was not interested in regime change?
Well, Brett, what I've said is the American military, that is not our mission, as regime change. Our mission was to destroy the nuclear facilities and the nuclear program of Iran, which we, of course, did. I think what the president's also said is that the Iranian people want to make a decision about regime change. That's between the Iranian people and the regime. Of course, we support freedom fighters all around the world, but our mission was to destroy the nuclear facilities, and that's what we did.
So you don't.
And then that's a great point there from J.D. Vance, because this has been one of the interesting things of discussion over the last day or so has been, okay, well, what does the future look like? And as I discussed yesterday morning here on the show, the idea that the United States needs to be actively involved in regime change in the Middle East, specifically in Iran, I strongly believe, is a terrible idea. And as J.D. Vance is telegraphing here to Brett Baer, the goal of these MOPs, these massive ordnance penetrating bombs that the United States dropped on Saturday night, the goal and the objective of those was not to affect regime change. was to, in fact, shut down the Iranian government's ability to continue to spin centrifuges and to continue to enrich uranium past 60% and close to that 90% threshold, where, in fact, it would be at a point where they can turn it into some sort of nuclear warhead, strap it onto an ICBM, strap it onto some sort of a ballistic missile and launch it somewhere within the Middle East, or the capability of an ICBM potentially halfway across the globe. And so that the regime change discussion here is an interesting one, more from VP J.D. Vance.
I don't think there's any mixed message when he goes to Truth Social and says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Miga.
Well, I think what the president is saying very clearly, Brett, is if the Iranian people want to do something about their own leadership, that's up to the Iranian people. What the American national security interest here is very simple. It's to destroy the nuclear program. That's what we've done. And now that the 12-day war appears to be effectively over, we have an opportunity, I think, to restart a real peace process. And Brett, this is not just about two countries, Iran and Israel. All of these Gulf Arab states, they want peace. They want to invest. They want to build artificial intelligence hardware. They want to sort of come into the new economy. And that was impossible when you had Iran that was, as the president said, acting like a bully across the Middle East. We really think that if the Iranians are smart about the path forward, this could be a new dawn of an economic age of prosperity, of course, for our Gulf Arab allies, for us, for the Israelis, for everybody. But it's going to require the Iranians play it smart from here.
The president called it very weak, the Iran missile firing on the U.S. base in Qatar, Al Udeid. Was it a face-saving move? How do you get from that, firing missiles at a U.S. base, to a ceasefire, as he details in this Truth Social?
Well, as the president said, they actually gave us some warning here. And we think they gave us some warning because they didn't want to kill Americans and they didn't want to escalate. There's definitely some symbolism to this, Brett. If you look at the Iranian attack, it was 14 missiles that they telegraphed ahead of time. We dropped 14 bunker buster bombs. As the president told me earlier, our missiles, our bombs were a little bit bigger than their bombs. Our bombs actually accomplished the goal of eliminating their nuclear program. But look, we're happy, again, to restart the peace process as the president just did today.
Was the message...
Again, listen to what J.D. Vance just said. We are, after the Iranian military launched missiles at a United States military base in Qatar yesterday afternoon. And even with that, this administration is still poised and is still set up and is still actively advocating for peace. That in itself, I think, is absolutely remarkable. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the quintessential difference. And this cannot really be understated any more than what I'm about to say. What you have watched unfold over the last 24 hours in the Middle East is the key difference between strong leadership and weak leadership. Under previous administrations, like the last, where you had weak, feckless, useless leadership, this situation would have not unfolded the way that it did. But when you've got somebody like Donald Trump in the Oval Office that is a strong leader, that is able to make very key strategic decisions, this is the kind of result that you end with. A ceasefire deal. A discussion after everything that has played out over the last 12 days. You're still talking peace. You're not talking about wiping Iran off the map. You're not talking about carpet bombing the entire country, dropping a nuclear weapon and turning it into glass. That's not the discussion out of the United States this morning and yesterday. It's peace, 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 peace. And that to me is remarkable with everything that has gone on. And again, being incredibly grateful and thankful for the strong leadership that we've got in the Oval Office with President Trump, with somebody like J.D. Vance, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. That crew that group of individuals and their strong will and their strong determination to get to peace has obviously played out. Now, obviously, things are a little bit maybe up in the air this morning, a little bit of uncertainty as the Israeli government decides that it's a smart idea to start going on to a full-out assault over Iran and potentially one rogue missile that was fired. Very stupid situation with all of that taking place. Even with that, you're still looking at peace, and you're still looking at a country that wants to move forward with that. Pretty remarkable.
It's delivered directly to the U.S. or through an emissary?
The message is always delivered through some sort of intermediary. That's been consistently true of the Iranians. Of course, we'd love to talk to them. The president's been clear about this. We'd love to have a direct conversation about how we move this thing forward because, again, we got to step back here. Why did the president do what he did over the past week? It's so that we could destroy their nuclear program. If they try to rebuild it, they're going to be on the wrong end of American power once again. We don't want that. I think they don't want that, but the ball's in their hands.
You've been reluctant or at least cautious about getting engaged previously, and that has been public. What made you sign on to this action this time?
Well, I think the president has been very clear, and I've always agreed with the president that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And you try to run the diplomatic process as much as you possibly can. When the president decided that wasn't going to work, he took the action that he had to take. Now we're in a new phase. That action was successful. We had a wildly successful military operation to take out their nuclear program. Now let's go on to the next phase. And I think the president, look, sometimes he's willing to use peace. Sometimes he's willing to use the military. I think it really depends on what the Iranians do from here.
And what do you think they do from here?
Well, it's an open question, Brett. I don't want to predict what the other side will do, but I think that I know what we'll do if they continue to pursue a nuclear weapon. And I hope they don't choose that path because I know the president wants to see the Middle East become peaceful and prosperous in the future. That's not going to happen if Iran pursues a nuclear weapon again.
So there's the interview last night on Fox News, a really great exclusive interview with Vice President J.D. Vance. So some phenomenal questions there by Brett Baer as this was literally happening live. The President Trump posted the announcement of the ceasefire deal a little after 6 o'clock yesterday evening. That's when Brett Baer was on the air with J.D. Vance. And as he started the interview, you heard there in the beginning, starts off with saying, here we go. We've got this ceasefire deal. So again, where do we stand this morning closing out the program? A lot happening, a lot of moving pieces and parts over the last hour or so. Apparently, overnight, there was one rogue Iranian missile that was fired. Israel decided to retaliate with that. They apparently have sent planes and have launched attacks on Tehran this morning. President Donald Trump calling out both sides, saying they don't know what the F they're doing. Apparently a phone call and conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu taking place within the last 15 or 20 minutes. We are slated up this morning for a very interesting news day. The president is also set to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at NATO today. Zelensky, with what you just saw and heard with Trump earlier this morning, he's obviously not in a good mood about everything that has unfolded. It's going to be interesting to see how that discussion goes down with the Ukrainian president later on today. If I can give any advice to Zelensky, I'd say make sure you're in you come with your best face to the table. Make sure you come with your best mood because I can imagine that with what Trump has already been dealing with here early today, he is not going to be in the greatest mood ever for any sort of shenanigans from Zelensky, as we unfortunately have seen in the past, like when he made his trip to the Oval Office. So a very busy news day today. Internationally, on the state side, the North Carolina General Assembly set to potentially take up a series of veto overrides today. The president or the General Assembly, the Republican-controlled GA, could be overriding some vetoes from Governor Josh Stein as it relates to immigration and constitutional carry. We'll be tracking those details throughout the day as well. A very busy couple of days as we head closer to the July 4th holiday. Appreciate you getting your news and sticking with us here on the Nick Craig Show. We'll have a lot in our show notes today, all of those posts, all of the videos that we talked about. And I want to thank everybody for their continued support of the program. If you believe that you are are getting some value, you can head on over to patreon.com/Nick Craig, get access to those daily show notes and more. Our June hangout is actually going to be happening the first day of July. That'll be happening coming up next Tuesday, a week from today, for those members that are in the Patreon, 7 o'clock next week, July the 1st. Look forward to seeing and chatting with everyone there. And then we'll, of course, do another one in the latter weeks of July as well. So patreon.com/Nick Craig. Appreciate everybody's support and their continued support here of the Nick Craig Show. Also want to thank the law group here in Wilmington. Give them a call at 910-251-6088 or visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. That's going to do it for a Tuesday edition of the Nick Craig Show. We're back with you 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, streaming live on YouTube, Rumble, and X, and 24/7, wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day.